It is your favorite night of the week. You have D&D coming up, and whether you're the DM or the player, you've spent your day planning, however that looks to you. Maybe it's pacing around your house talking like your character, or maybe it's writing page after page on sticky notes trying to figure out how you're going to run combat tonight. And with all the hustle and bustle and excitement, you almost missed the text message that hit your phone 10 minutes ago. Sorry guys, can't make it. I don't know any D&D players who haven't at one point or another suffered from chronic cancellation. But what if there was a way around it? A way that you could continue to play even if you have to cancel. Now this video is for DMs or for players who are willing to DM if your DM is the chronic canceller. But it's how I try to continue running my table even when we have life stuff. How I do it is running an everyone cancel campaign. A very simple quest grinder that is easy to bring people into and take people out of. Tonight just so happens to be one of those cancellation nights for me, and it happens to the best of us. But I am a stubborn mule who tries to cancel as little as is possible. And when I say that, I mean I literally had a root canal and within hours showed up to run a 6-person session. So let's start with the groundwork. My world has a bit of a purgatory afterlife. It is a world that is in between. An old world eldritch god made it as a place of suffering. People who get sucked into this, be it by a god, warlock, or falling through one of the portals, either die very quickly by simply trying to exist, or worse, they adjust to the world and they become immortal there. Time doesn't move quite right. The world is gray, and they are surrounded by monsters. It's called the Bastille, spelled with an X, which has to do with the way the gods' names are spelled, but get it? Because Bastille, prison, you know? In many ways, it's considered the end of the world, or the origin of horrors. In my campaign, technically, dragonborns came before dragons. And when this creative, demented little god decided to make the Bastille, he turned everything horrible. I mean, dragonborns are cool and all, but bipedal, no dark vision, don't get me started. But turn it into a huge beast? That's something to trifle with. And then slowly through portals, some of them flooded into the world and became something of legend. But the Bastille is filled with them, and tons of other reptilians, like dinosaurs. Being kind of an at world's end though, there's not a whole lot you can do to build up civilization, or so one might think. In this horrifying purgatory, there is a singular built city. Some might call it a town, but as far as population goes, this is the biggest it gets. It is protected and overseen by one of the original dragons that took a liking to some of the humans that fell into the world. And after seeing how fragile they were, he became only more determined to protect them. However, there's only so much that he can do on his own. So adventurers who are surviving the Bastille well enough to hold their own go out to help this dragon city by hunting and learning about the local ecology. Some are dinosaur tamers who find new ways to bring big creatures to help the city. Some are hunters that make sure the city is provided for, be it with food or pelts, so on. Some are collectors. They literally just go out and find the coolest looking plants to bring back to study. And some are protectors. They simply make sure to get rid of anything that comes too close to the city that may be a threat to the people as a whole. There is a system in place for these hunts and what level of hunt you can do based on your history as a hunter. Oh, and everything is run on Electrum. If you fall into this world with a lot of gold and silver, I mean, you can sell it to the blacksmith, but Electrum is the local currency. No change made, singular coin. One number, I'm not calculating, dividing this by 10 and I understand that's easy math for some. I don't want to deal with it on my nights where somebody canceled. And I mean, it's literally in the D&D Beyond app and no one uses it. Come on. Now, as far as the hunting goes, when a hunter goes out and they come back and they bring back a kill, your players can choose whether they want to give them to any of the biologists, the ecologists, the blacksmith, the town keep, and who they want to give monster parts to, and they get different rewards based on that. If they go to, say, the biologist or the ecologist, they're going to get new ways to track monsters that help them along their travels and make their hunts a lot more efficient. Think quality of life. If they're going to the blacksmith, they're going to get cool, unique homebrew weapons that I make that are with the monster parts. There are also other hunters that do compete with your players, so certain things are on time limits, or if there's a lot of people on one quest, they might come across having to fight some other people from the city. Yes, there is some oneness and there are rules, but outside of the city, there's nobody who's going to stop you. So it's a little Wild West meets dinosaurs. The overarching background story that the players can explore if they're coming back over and over again for this, give them a bit of long-term purpose if you have a more regular canceller, is about outliers who aren't a part of the city. They found one dinosaur that had a huge branding on its wing, and that branding was magical. They couldn't get rid of it. And it was a marking of what is essentially a cult. Some people have said that the outliers are cannibals. Some have said that they want to end humanity altogether. There's all kinds of different rumors as to what they are. The only thing my players know definitively right now is that they are herding dinosaurs that are peaceful. They aren't like the hunters getting rid of dragons and rexes or taming them. They're branding triceratops. They're leaving coelacanth zombies. They're sadistic. And what they want with my players, and more importantly, the Dragon City, it's a little bit of a mystery they come back for. But the world itself is minimal. And whenever I have a player joining, I let them know, do not get attached to your character and always have a backup. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. In story-driven campaigns, death should mean something. That's not what this is, though. This is we're gonna see what we can challenge ourselves with and make it as difficult as we can. It is a meat grinder with a cute little story underneath it. It is super rewarding and my players get super into it. But they also do know that at any point in time, their characters could get their eyeballs carved out. There's even a system of the Bastille taking over their psyche slowly to see whether they adapt or they die that is based on a roll at each session. The longer they go without slowly adjusting, which physically changes their character's appearance over time, like graying hair or darkening scales, the lower the DC goes for more deadly consequences. A player could literally come to the table and have not adjusted enough yet, roll and just die. Just by existing in the Bastille, they're just gone. So again, this is super high stakes. You don't have to do it super high stakes, but it's a lot easier to bring characters and players in and out when it's less attachment. So let's talk how I run the session to session. When the players wake up in the city, they are able to go to the town hall or explore the city if they want something more laid back, but that's normal city planning. At the town hall, there is a series of quests. Not as detailed as this, but simple as we're looking for these things to be hunted, or these things to be delivered, or recon for these different places. Usually though, my players always go for the hunts. Now how I run that is with a simple rolling chart. Whenever players go out to hunt, they get to assign a party leader that is leading the trail. That is going to be the person who rolls. Now, in between encounters, you can change who's going to be the party leader for that part of the tracking, but it's always going to be one person rolling. Now, some of the items that can help with tracking will let you re-roll one of your rolls during this and take the next roll, not necessarily the better roll. Now, again, that's if they've taken the time to help out the bookworms. But a standard hunt is rolling D4s with a success chart.
Editing, and I just realized I forgot the key point to the entire chart for encounters. To start an encounter chart, each one of the encounters, before you roll the d4, you roll a survival check. If you pass the survival check, you roll 2d4, take the highest. If you fail the survival check, you only roll 1d4. Yeah.
If they roll a 4 right off the bat, it's going to be an easy hunt. They find exactly what they're going for. They have a battle that is going to be a well-balanced, not the most challenging, and they can reap the rewards. The other ways to succeed are to roll 2 3s, 3 2s, or 4 1s. No combination of them, those are the options. And you continue to roll for encounters until you've gotten any of those numbers. It doesn't have to be in succession, it doesn't have to be like 2 2, it could be 2 3 2. But that's mostly it. Now, if you roll any of the numbers and then a 4, that 4 is again an automatic success. But there's some caveats to it if you don't get it right off the bat. Every 1 you get before you succeed ups the deadliness of the combat. That means you add more health to the monster. You give it legendary actions. Maybe it's coming with an entire horde of fellow monsters. But 1s are a huge no-go. If you get 2 or more 1s and then a 4, you lose a trail. You can go hunt something else, but you're not going to be able to finish this specific hunt today. And again, for each roll, you have a different encounter. If you roll a 1, it's a nothing burger. Nothing is going to happen on that specific encounter. You just get to roll again. You're going to deal with that later on. For 2, they get a passive encounter. Maybe that's a tameable monster that they might be able to use to their advantage. Maybe it's a wandering merchant. Or perhaps it is a friendly camper out in the wild who just would love to share a meal with you. That's definitely not cannibalism. If you don't ask what the mystery meat is, you don't have to know. But 2 means they don't have to fight this. Each 3, however, is aggressive. 3s mean that maybe you're trying to hunt this huge dragon and you come across a Rex. It's not fun, but it's going for you. That same chart I use for any of the different events that they're working on. If they're working on delivering something, that 4 is they get there ahead of schedule without incident. If they're trying to find a specific plant, they can find that plant. The only thing that's changed is if you get those multiple 1s that would make a combat more deadly, you might find the plant, but there's an intimidating dinosaur guarding it. You might be able to deliver everything to the campsite, but find that some of the people there are being attacked. So now that we have the world and the mechanics in place to have easy planned sessions, I want to do one with you in as real time as possible. So it may feel a little bit clunky, because I don't want to do a bunch of editing for this, because I want you to see how easy it can be and no real big, huge cuts in the way. So hi, you're about to see a very awkward side of me. First order of business, we have a new player coming to the table. I am simply going to make the note introduce, because at some point we are going to have to figure out how that's happening, but I do not know what he's bringing to the table. This is a cancellation of not my campaign, but Nico's campaign, and only one of the players couldn't make it, and it is everyone canceled campaign players except also Nico's brother. So I figured I would throw my hat into the ring as a DM so we could still play tonight, and they said yes. This happened a matter of hours ago. So character is still being made. I'm gonna have to do a lot of on-the-spot balancing. So this is just gonna be an outline, and then I'll explain how I do that on-the-spot balancing. So first order of business is a big introduce. Once I get his character, I'm going to have to figure out whether he's gonna be introduced in the town or out of the town. Presently, my players last ended outside of the town, but they were just on their way back. So we may scene cut to just back in the town, or on their way back, they may run into him. So we have the wiggle room to do that pretty quickly at the beginning of the session. Now, as far as the city goes, we are going to look at in the city issue. They've been dealing with another gang they're hunters, but they are very intimidating and they're very violent. So they have been taking issue with these 2 new people into the town. I just said I wasn't gonna edit, and now you go and you grab stuff to chew up? What are you doing, you little psycho? Where's your toy? Thank you. So, being that they are this violent, I'm gonna make a note that if they decide to explore the city, these people are gonna start showing up and harassing a little bit. Rival hunters. Now, as far as the actual hunts and quests go, we're gonna go through the list of that. First and foremost, they did just, I don't know if you guys know what like a pterodon, like the Quetzal. Sorry, Ketz. Ketz is what it is, not pterodon. We have those. They just tamed a Ketz, and they saved it, so they brought it back to the city alive, well, and happy to help. That being said, I'm gonna put a Quetz I'm gonna put a quest in there. There is a guy he helps with some of the tamers, and he's this dwarven artificer. He wears these cool, like, he has like a little Walkman, and he's always blasting music if he's not talking to people. I love him. So we're gonna just put a cat's saddle on it. So he can send them on a quest. So kind of give them a list of things to collect, which would be like enough hide to create a saddle, and it would need a pretty beefy amount of hide. So that would be a large hunt. Now, last time they also had, not necessarily last session, but the session before, they decided to bite off more than they can chew. They did a bad hunt where they successfully found it, but they did not roll well, and they didn't heed some warnings. So they were hunting this T-Rex, and it brought them to this dragon that almost killed them. I did a on-the-map puzzle of, it was like this sand dragon. It could fly, but it could also dive into this sandy river, and there were these huge stones they could have stood on, and it wouldn't be able to grab them and drown them or jump up from underneath them to do damage. Do you think any of them stood on a rock, even though I put the rocks in red on the map and wrote rock? No, of course not. They didn't even touch the rocks. I tried so hard. Do my best. Anyways, so they almost died. They got out barely. That being said, I'm gonna put an XL quest is if they decide to go back for that dragon. I'm gonna make note that it is now harassing things close to the city, which has never happened before. Obviously because they pissed it off. You know, consequences to your actions. So an XL dragon, and put a little star next to it with repeat. Because now that they know what it is, they can go in more prepared and with more gear and equipment that's more specialized towards that and upper racks. They can also recruit other people to help them out if they're going on a big enough hunt. So XL Dragon, repeat, harassing city, so HARR city. Let's see. So, they've been trying to get in good with the city because the dragon that overlooks it, his name is Cern. He is kind of like, he may have ways to get them back home. They want to go back to the world. They want to study, but they want to find a way back. They also want to better understand the place and see if there's something more serious that they can help out with. Because the average level of players in the city is between 4 to 7. And they're level 15. They're like demigods walking into this city. And not everybody's happy about it. It can be a little scary. So they've been trying to get in to be able to have an audience with Cern. So I'm going to have a Cern special quest as well. Cern special. Now, there are these huge things. They're like whales that are in the sky. So these sky whales travel. They've only been rumored of yet. Nobody's seen them with their own 2 eyes. So they're looking for somebody to basically just see if they are real. And that is a side quest that has to do with Cern's past. So a special request is to go out, see if they are real, and to try and peacefully collect a scale from them. So we're gonna put a scale peaceful. And then Dragon Egg is another one to see if they can collect one. Because that was on the quest board last time, so I want to make sure that that's still an option. However, if they do go for the Dragon Egg, they're gonna run into that cult. So I'm just gonna put that in parentheses that obviously it's not saying right off the bat that that's what they're running into. They're gonna think they're going for a Dragon Egg, but it's secretly a different quest. It's secretly a different tie-in. So we've got the saddle, which is a large hunt, XL Dragon. Cern special is a peaceful scale. Dragon eggs. They just did a tame quest. I doubt they're gonna want to do one again. But I'll add tame a Rex. because I don't think they're gonna go for that one. So it was Hunter Rex before, but now that they've seen that it's possible to tame this larger beast of a Ketz, changing that Kill the Rex into a Tame a Rex makes a lot more sense for them now, which would be a higher challenge, since they would have to down it basically and find a way to get it peacefully, and that's not going to be easy with something so carnivorous. But again, they're probably not going to go for a tame twice in a row anyways. And then we're gonna have there's a town, which is the first town they're building, that is out to the south. So delivery south, which again would bring you back to that XL Dragon quest. So technically it's the same quest, just 2 different forms. So I'm gonna put a little arrow that connects the 2, because if they try to do that delivery, they're gonna run into the big dragon that almost killed them, because it is to the south, kind of patrolling at this point, and they will have been warned, hey, this is now coming out of its territory, and that's an issue. So if they don't decide to go and attack it head on, it is still gonna interrupt their quest elsewhere. So delivery south, a large lumber and what do you call provisions, lumber and provisions, because that also makes it make sense too that they would be being attacked if they're carrying large amounts of meat and have other dinosaurs that are pulling these carts. So they basically need an escort for that one. You know, just casual Overwatch payload in D&D. Crap, I lost my train of thought. We've got a tame. We have a collection. We technically have 2 collections. We have an XL Dragon, we have a Cat Scale, and then they can also go on, basically herbology reports. I have a proper name for them, but I can't think of it right now. Yeah. But they already know about those. They're on the quest board all the time. They always need gathers to go out and collect new herbs and plants to be studied. There is actually a hunter's group guide. It's like a little handbook they all have. I have not physically made this, although I really, really want to, but we don't play it enough. But there's a little hunter's guide that has like all the different herbs and like recorded dinosaurs. So when you come across a new one, you can check to see if it's recorded or not. And if it's not, you could try to collect those alive or dead to bring back to be studied. Yeah. So that's it. That's all the planning I do in advance. Little page. And technically, I'm good to go. Now, I know that you're probably thinking, well, you didn't plan any combats or anything like that. Well, that's because a lot of that is on the spot for me. I quite literally am known for winging combat. At some point, I'm gonna have a video on winging combat, but for now, this is a little bit of an overview, just a Spark Notes version. Now, firstly, I always carry a large dry erase board on me with like this little screen cover. There is a video on my channel about my favorite things as a DM where I kind of show that setup that I carry around with me so I can make a map about anything, any place. Once my players are out onto a hunt, I think of possible things that would be in that environment. So if it's nighttime, they're gonna deal with more nocturnal dinosaurs. And as they're talking and I am chit-chatting with them on things, I'm also behind the screen on my phone Googling nocturnal dinosaurs. I look at a couple of different names of things that are nocturnal. Then I look up to see if there's any D&D stat sheets. If there's not, I look at the physical biology of the dinosaur. I look up a picture, and if it has claws, I know it can use a claw attack. If it has large mouth, I know it has a large mouth. If it looks like it has a tail that looks like it could be used as a gecko, I know that we could potentially work with some sort of a tail attack or grappling. I also look at the behaviors that it would normally pose. So for example, raptors would travel in packs. So pack tactics make sense for them. Once I get those little spark notes behind the screen, I have an idea of what I'm looking for in the combats that they're going to encounter. Now, even if there are not stat blocks for the specific things that they could encounter, I go to Google. I look up dragon. I look up dinosaur. I get a general stat block that is similar enough. at the end of the day, it doesn't even technically have to be similar. You could technically take a robot enemy and just change the names of the attacks and the type of damage it does to be balanced out around the same CR level. If you have, say, a large serpent, you can take a D&D snake. If you are running into a group of other hunters, you can just roll for random stat sheets. If you're doing these super cool abyssal dinosaurs, take the normal dinosaur, raptor stat sheet, and just spice it up a little. The best way to do balancing on the spot with that is to beef up its health and add a bit more damage based on what you're already throwing at the players in the past. And then if on the spot they're doing really good, have a couple more run in. And if you don't like the throw more stuff at them, make the environment start to change. Now portals open to the overworld. Maybe a portal opens that drops people into this combat who are scared, horrified, they don't know what's going on, and now you're having to worry about protecting them while also defeating these monsters. This is very on-the-spot thinking that I'm kind of adjusted to already. It's where improv comes in serious handy, and consuming an unusual amount of horror. Now, of course, another thing that you can do is think of a bunch of different creative possibilities or things you might want to experiment with and throw them on a single piece of paper. Write down all of your ideas. And then as you see your players walking into an environment where one of your ideas could come in handy, rip that right off the sheet and throw it at them. But for the most part, they get their overarching ideas and I wing it from there. If you've built your world well enough as a baseline, this is a nothing burger. This is simple. I think the easiest way you can make planning is if you built well. And if you don't build well and you want to do more planning, plan out within a couple of days after your last canceled session so you have something ready to go. You may need to tweak some balancing if you have a player who comes or goes, or if you have two players who are known to cancel, plan for when one cancels and plan for when two cancels, plan out your balancing, and then when everybody comes to the table, you have those options readily available. No matter how you plan in advance though, having something like this ready for when one or two of your players are canceling at your table is the best way to play D&D. I will literally fight somebody over this because the best way to play is to make sure you're playing. And once you get into a loop of canceling, and more importantly, just letting it cancel, or rescheduling but nobody ever actually reschedules, your campaigns almost always die. You see creator after creator after creator talking about how once you get into that instability and there are no consequences to cancellations, it's just, oh well, we'll try again another time. You just stop playing, whether it is overnight or it is a very slow and sad death to a campaign. Keeping people adjusted to always having their Wednesday nights open for D&D, and maybe this is a singular freak incident, keeps people committed, keeps people intrigued, keeps people wanting to come back. So if you're running a full-time campaign right now that is long form, or you get together regularly, do me a favor. Have your players make a level 10 to 15 character, start planning out the secondary world, and the next time one of your players cancels an hour before session, whip this out and let me know how it goes. Whew, turns out I just saw the time and I'm gonna be the one late to session if I don't head out like in the next 5 minutes. I'm blaming it on you. But regardless, if you like the video and you like this idea, please leave a like, subscribe for more, and hopefully I will see you around next time. Oh, yeah. Bye guys! You can't have my milk. There are 1,000 other places to sit in the house. If you drink my milk, there are 1,000 other places to sit in this house. You are gonna have to call PETA for help, okay? You got bacon today. Look at me. Leave my milk alone. Give me the beans, bro. I will end you. Yeah.